We're going to do a basic division problem using log multiplication, and this time when we write our answer, we're going to take it out into a decimal and write it as a decimal instead of a remainder. So let's take the problem 51 divided by 5. So in this example, we have a 2-digit dividend and a 1-digit divisor. So we're just going to use log multiplication. Start out looking at our 5 here. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So put our 1 up here, and we multiply. 1 times 5 is 5. Now we subtract 0, and now we bring down this 1. Now we're left with, how many times does 5 go into 1? Well, if we have 1, we can't divide it 5 ways evenly, so that's going to be a 0 up here. So 51 divided by 5 is 10. Now if we multiply out, 0 times 5 is 0. We subtract, and we're left with a remainder of 1. And that makes sense. Since 10 times 5 is 50, then we have 1 left over for our 51. Now we're going to carry it out into a decimal this time instead of writing it as a remainder. So in my dividend, I'm going to add a decimal down here. And I'm also going to extend my line up here a little bit. So I'm going to take that decimal point and I'm going to move it straight up, and I'm going to add that decimal point right there before the 0. Now down here in my dividend, I'm going to add a 0. Doesn't matter if I add any zeros behind there, it doesn't change the fact that I still have 51. So now I bring down that 0, and now I just continue using log multiplication. Now I'm looking at 5 and 10. How many times does 5 go into 10? I can use my basic math fact knowledge to know that 5 times 2 is 10. So up here I'm going to write 2. Now multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. I subtract, and I'm left with 0. So 51 divided by 5 is 10.2. Now we have that as a decimal instead of a remainder. Now let's take a look at a problem with a 2-digit divisor. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use long division, but instead of giving an answer with a remainder, we're going to carry it out into a decimal. So instead of the remainder and a number, we're going to keep going past a decimal and show it as a decimal instead of a remainder. So let's do an example. Let's start with 654 divided by 19. Alright, when we first start out, we're going to do just like we do normal long division. We're going to take our 19 and say how many times does 19 go into 65? Well, I know that 19 is going to go to 65 probably about 3 times. 19 is close to 20, so 20 times 3 is 60. It's probably going to be 3 times. So let's try it out. 3 times 9 is 27, carry my 2. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Now we subtract. I'm going to have to borrow. 15 minus 7 is going to be 8. So that was correct. Since 8 is less than 19, I know that my 3 up here is correct. Then I'm going to go ahead and bring down my 4. Now I have 19. How goes into 84 how many times? So same thing again. 19, I'm going to think about it as being 20. Going into 84. 20 goes into 80 4 times, so it's going to be 4. I'm going to go ahead and put my 4 up here. Now I multiply. 4 times 9, I'm going to cross out that 2 so I don't get confused. 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times 1 is 4, plus my 3 that I carried is 7. 76. 84 minus 76, again I can borrow. 14 minus 6 is going to be 8. And once again, my what we have left over, the remainder 8 is less than 19, so I know that 34 is my correct answer so far. So normally we would write a remainder 8 up next to it, but now we're not going to do that. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to take it and write it as a decimal instead. So we're going to put a decimal point here and at the before the 4, and then we're going to just carry out. Let's make this a little longer. We're just going to add a 0 here. We can keep adding zeros behind that decimal point, and it doesn't change our original number, 654. So now I'm going to bring down my 0, and I just keep dividing. 19 goes into 80. It's going to be 4 again. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to do that's very important. I've added my decimal point here, and I need to take it straight up. I'm going to put my decimal point up there in my answer as well. So 19 goes into 80. It's going to be 4 times. And I'm running out of room here real quick, so let me take a quick pause and try and fix that. Alright, and I'm back. So I was saying that we have 19 goes into 80 4 times up here. Now we're going to multiply again just like we do. 4 times 19. And let's see what color. I'll go back to green. 4 times 9 again is going to be 36. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. I'm going to subtract 80 minus 76 is going to be 4. Now, I still have another remainder, and if I want to get to my exact answer, all I'm going to do is keep adding another 0 here, bring it down, and then I'm going to divide again. Let's see how many times 19 goes into 40. This time it's going to be 2. Put a 2 up there, and I'm going to multiply. 2 times 19 is going to be 38. And it looks like in the case of this problem, I'm going to keep going with a lot of digits out here. This decimal might be a repeating number, and I might not get to the actual answer. So I'm going to stop right there for that problem. Hopefully you can see how that works. Let's do another problem. Alright, let's try this one. 382 divided by 10. We have 10 as our divisor over here. It makes it a little more simple. Help us see and understand what's going on. So again, I'm going to start out to think about how many times does 10 go into 38. Well, I know it can't be 4 because 10 times 4 is 40. And I can't have a number bigger than 38 come down here. So it's got to be 3. I'm going to multiply. 3 times 10. Multiples of 10s, 10, 20, 30. I subtract. And then bring down the next digit over. So now we know that 10 goes into 382 30-something times, and now we're going to find out what's left. So again, 10 now goes into 10 goes into 82. Well, that's going to be 8 times. Put our 8 up here. 8 times 10 is 80. Again, if we subtract, now we're left with our remainder down here, but we're going to write it as a decimal again. I'm going to extend that out a little bit, add my decimal point down here, bring it straight up, add my 0, and bring down. Now we have, how many times does 10 go into 20? Well, again, basic math facts tells us 10 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 10 is 20. When we subtract that, we're left with a remainder of 0. So in this case, we did have an exact answer of 38 2/10. As you're working on division and writing remainders as decimals, let's only write out our decimals to the hundredths place. We'll only take it 2 places behind the decimal point. That way we're not having to write repeating decimals out to a really long ways behind it. So let's do an example where we only take the answer out to the hundredths place. So if we have 389, let's take that, divided by 36. Same thing, long division, 36 goes into 38. Going to be 1 time. 1 times 36 is 36. We subtract and bring down. All right, now we're looking at how many times is 36 going to 29? Well, 29 is less than 36, so it's going to be 0. 36 goes into 29 0 times. Multiply, any number times 0 is 0. We subtract, and we're left with a remainder of 29, but we're going to carry it out to a decimal. Add my decimal and extend my line. Can't forget to take my decimal point straight up. Alright, so now I can add my 0 back here, bring down. So now I have 290 divided by 36. How many times does 36 go into 290? So if I'm going to have to do 290 divided by 36. So this is a little trickier when we have bigger numbers like this. So I'm going to round 36 to 40. I'm going to think about that as 40. And I'm going to think about 290 as 300. So I'm going to think, how many times does 40 go into 300? I'm going to focus on my 4 in the 40 and think about 4 times what number gets me close to 30. 4 times what number gets me close to 30? Well, 7 times 4 is 28. So 7 times 40 would be 280. Let's try that and see what happens with our answer. So I'm going to take 7. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 plus 4 is 25. Now we subtract. I'm going to fix this a little bit. I got that 2 a little off. There we go. And I'm going to subtract. I'm going to have to borrow here. 8. 10 minus 2 is 8. 8 minus 5 is 3. 38. Uh-oh, I have a problem. 38. My remainder is less than my divisor. So what does that tell me? That tells me my quotient up here needs to be 1 digit higher. So I need to go back and I need to change this. There's not really any good way to fix that other than, or to get to a closer answer like we did before. Having difficulty getting my eraser here. Why isn't my eraser working? Okay, sorry about that. Minor little technical difficulty, but I've got it back right now. Okay, so we're back. We tried to do 290 divided by 36 is 7, but that didn't work because our remainder was too big. So we need to make this 8 up here. Let's try that. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 4 is 28. That's looking a lot better. Now I'm going to subtract 290 minus 88. I'm going to have 2 left over. So I'm going to add another 0 up here and bring that number down. 20. Is 36 going to 20? Nope. That is going to be another 0 up here. And you can see that we could keep carrying that out. But what we're going to do, we're just going to put a little dot, dot, dot back here to show that that decimal is going to keep repeating past there. But we're only going to carry it out to 2 decimal places or the hundredths place. Tenths and hundredths. So this has been long division with writing remainders as a decimal. I hope you learned a lot.